and you're focusing on your strengths. And when you look at your weaknesses, if you're focusing more on your weaknesses, when you say, okay, I'm this, or I'm doing this, flip it around. So what's the opposite of that? And focus on your strength.
Welcome to Transformative Tea Talk with Soul Aligned Living. We provide education, resources, and tips on holistic health, mindset, yoga, qigong, and Ayurveda.
Today's topic is self-love, and we are clearing our throats and getting our throat chakra ready to go. We're going to begin with just a brief meditation to kind of ground us and bring us into the space. And it's what we did before. It's just a little opening. So you can just become comfortable and close your eyes or soft gaze and take a couple of breaths. We are surrounded by a bubble of white light, God's love and light. Only those with the highest intention can communicate through us and to us. We are more than our bodies. We are beings of love. We are beings of light. We call on those whose wisdom and experience is greater than our own to guide us and protect us. And above all, we are thankful. And take a deep breath. And here we are.
Thank you. I love that.
Very centering and grounding.
Today we're talking about self-love. So my journey in self-love started with realizing that I was doing a whole lot of things that just weren't healthy. Then realizing that all of those unhealthy things I were doing was self-sabotage and the complete opposite of self-love. Like, I didn't love myself, so why am I going to take care of myself? I don't love myself, so I'm not going to find a healthy coping mechanism for the stress or the outside life happening things. And so for me, that's avoiding things, overeating, over drinking, over shopping, over all the things. Just everything is extra, and it's all self-sabotage, because afterwards I realized what I'm doing to cope with my stressors is only creating more stressors in my life. So I had to take a good hard look at me and what I was doing. And that is not easy, but that is the first step. You have to see what your patterns are. You have to see what you are doing that is derailing all the things that you're trying to do. Look back, and gosh, 7-10 years ago, I keep trying to, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise, and I'm doing all the things, but I do it for a week and then I'm done. I do all the things for a week and then I'm back to doing the exact same thing over again, or I lose 5 pounds and then I'm like, well, it's not happening the way I want it to. So I'm back to eating the whole cheesecake or the whole bag of Snickers, or, and then now I've lost 5, but now I've gained 10. So just recognizing all of that, and then just giving myself grace and finding things to do better, and not expect to do everything all at once. Like, just changing that one thing in my life and do 1% better every day. So doing the work, finding the inner demons, realizing what my triggers are. And then I made a list. I made a list of all the things that I've been doing that I have been replacing those ugly habits with. So if I'm just stressed and raged and I'm just going to go impulse shop and spend money I don't have, and all those endorphin rushes, I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to be like, you know what? Instead of driving to the mall or Ross, because that's the best place. That's not a plug for them, but it's just I get all kinds of things really cheap. I drive the other direction to the lake and I take a walk, and I'll put my earbuds in and listen to some music, or not leave my phone in the car and take my shoes off and walk barefoot in the grass, and just, if I have to jog a little bit to get that energy out, I'll do that, but not too much, because the knees and the ankles and the arthritis aren't quite ready for that yet. But but I journal, I do something, I'll purge, right, I'll scream, I'll breathe, and then as I'm doing the list, I'm wait, instead of having that really strong margarita when I get home from work and it's been a shitty day, I can be like, take a walk and then purge, right, breathe, take a nap, hang out with the kids, get a hug. I mean, I started the list and I realized there's so many things that I listed, like journaling, walking, moving, purge writing, pausing, breathing, taking a nap, listening to music, meditating, pulling my tarot cards and reading, phoning. I mean, there's just so many things. And I'm like, wait, I have like 3 really bad coping mechanisms that I still have to go, oh, that's not a good go-to. And I've got like 20 really good options. And I'm like, oh, I'm making a change. And I'm starting to see that light. Oh, and
So
then when
would
I
you
go
say,
into
Shannon, would you say that you have to make that conscious decision every day, though, when you find yourself falling into that trap? It's like a daily, sometimes hourly decision.
sometimes, and in the beginning, it was a minute by minute decision. And I would have literally, I will have one day where I'm like, yeah, I did it. And then the next week, I'm like, not happening. And then I'll have a day. And now I have a week of good decisions and I'll have a day of bad decisions. And not the whole day's bad decisions. I just make 1 or 2. And I go, okay, I can do better. But that took me probably, according to my Facebook memories, it took me at least 7 years. At least 7 years. And God only knows how horrible it was in the 15 before that.
So
then I was
with
on
that,
autopilot.
yeah. So with that, because I think that this is helpful for people that may be, in the first stages of
Mhm.
learning what real self-love is and practicing not self-sabotaging. When you were learning how to do this and you did have a bad day or a bad decision, or how did you cope with that?
All the negative things. Oh, how could I? I'm such a failure. Am I ever going to get this right? Is it worth it? Am I worth it? And I think that was the big thing, is like, am I even worth it? And then there's that self-talk there that was more of the self-sabotage. But yeah, with help, I'm doing better. I'm doing better. There are still days that I'm like, am I gonna ever get this? Am I ever gonna get this? And then people around me who love me go, oh my God, you are so much different and how you handle this stressor than you were 3 years ago. The girls at work love me. I'll be like, I just can't do this. And they're like, girl, you got this. You're having a bad moment. And I'm like, eventually I'll start talking to myself that way, but not
Yeah.
there yet.
It is a process, 100%. That's anyone who's working on self-development. To me, self-love is like the foundation. And that awareness, like you said, Shannon, of where you are and what you're thinking, and then baby steps every day. Just keep moving forward. So true.
Shannon,
Yes, ma'am.
what is your best advice for people with self-love in their process when they're just starting out and they're, really, struggling along? And Brandy just commented, haha, struggle is real. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's talking about ADHD.
Yeah. And that's part of it is, and that's, I'm going to go into ADHD. Sorry, tangent. For me, realizing that I am ADHD as an adult woman has been the biggest eye opener for me. That is when I realized, oh, I'm not a fuck up. Oh, I can think, I can do things. I am a smart, intelligent woman, but I also have a brain that goes wonky. So I guess my biggest advice is, one, you have to start at the beginning and be aware of what what it is that is going on. Why is it going on? And then give yourself the opportunity to love yourself and just do 1% better every day and give yourself grace. Like, I'm so proud of myself right now. I've lost all this weight, but then Facebook reminded me that I started this journey more than 7 years ago. I could have given up. I could have stopped and said no, but every day I get up and make that decision to try to do better. And just do a little bit better. And if it doesn't work that day and the whole day goes to shit and I make all the bad decisions and just, you know what? I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to start over tomorrow and find a friend or two that when you're losing it, you can just be like, help. And like Michelle said on a previous one, not that friend that's going to be like, girl, I so understand you. It needs to be that friend that goes, yo, you fucked up. and
what are you going to do better?
You're going to have to apologize for this. And you need to realize why you're doing this. And here are the skills that you need to help you get back on track and love yourself, even though you fucked up. Sorry. Yeah, that's kind of my advice, one day at a time, give yourself grace, find a friend that loves you.
And I think it's funny, not with just Shannon, but with a lot of people when they tell me, they're like, I have ADHD. And I'm like, you didn't know? Really?
Well, it goes back to that awareness, because I wasn't diagnosed as a child with ADHD.
I wasn't either, but I knew.
Yeah,
I'm still not diagnosed. I just know.
But it comes back to that awareness, like, one of these is not like the other. And, especially I was in education and I started like going through checklists with kids and I'm like, dang, this is, yeah, this is sounding very familiar, but
let's be honest though. We all have ADD. We all have some form of ADHD because our bodies weren't built to sustain 8 hours sitting in front of a computer or 8 hours in a classroom, or, that's not how we were made. We are not the disordered ones.
There you go.
Society is disordered, and we're just a product of that. And we're just trying to keep all the things in our brain and keep it all straight. And there's just too much.
Yeah.
We have too much now to keep in our brain.
All over. Yeah.
Yep.
And besides that, I do need to say this in case there is anyone out there with ADHD listening. I consider that a gift, because you're able to think on many different levels, on many different at the same time. And while that may not look good to someone who's watching you, I used to describe it as planes flying through my brain with banners. It's like, there goes one, there goes one, there goes one. But it's a multi-thinking process that it's not a bad thing. So it is a gift.
Off of our ADHD spiel there that we had.
Yeah.
We'll put on a little tangent about ADD
self-love.
and ADHD. Back to
Love
self-love and practicing self-love. Whether you feel like you have ADHD or not, and going back to Shannon's conversation about, her experience is really self-love, is realizing that you are worth it and prioritizing your healing over your previous coping mechanisms, whether that's alcohol, working out, sleeping all day long. I mean, there's tons of different things. We all do something different, shopping, to cope with whatever it is that we are individually coping with. So self-love really is taking that and saying, today I'm going to do this. I'm going to prioritize myself, and I'm going to prioritize my healing over all these other things that I know make me feel good in the moment, but are not good for me long term. So you may feel good going to Marshall's or Ross or TJ Maxx, or you may feel good going out and drinking with friends and then coming home completely drunk. But none of those are progressing you towards your healing, So choosing that self-love and making a conscious decision every single day, and sometimes every single hour, and sometimes every single moment, that I'm going to prioritize myself and my healing over everything else. And then having that boundary that you set for yourself, and that you respect your own boundary about that. If I say I'm not going to go out and drink, for a month, I'm going to give myself 30 days, then protecting my own boundary in that. And so even if my best friend comes into town from Texas and she's like, hey, let's go drink, and I'd be like, I have 30 days, let's go do this instead. Respecting your own boundary so that others will also respect your boundaries.
Yes. And having the right friends just does help. Having the friends that say, hey, that's probably not the healthiest for you. Let's,
Sometimes you have to lose some people along the way.
Yes, you do.
Brandy, we talked about that. You might want to watch our last video from last week on Dark Night of the Soul. And we talked briefly about not everyone can go on this path with you. And sometimes there's people that want to stay with you and they want to heal with you and they'll stay with you. And there are some people that are not, it's not their time.
And that's one of the biggest first things is realizing those toxic relationships that have to go. I think I know I've had a few toxic people in my life that I've had to say, oh, this is not going to be an easy one to get rid of, but I got to get this person out of my life because it's killing me.
And it doesn't mean you have to stop loving them.
No.
You just you don't keep them as close.
We'll keep them in another state. And you love them from another state. And you'd be like,
that's not always possible. They could be across the street.
Yeah.
They could be across the street and you still have to distance yourself, and you can still love them and you can still have a relationship with them, but just not have that same relationship. It will shift.
Yeah. Those are hard boundaries. Those are hard boundaries to enforce, but they're necessary.
And then also how we talk to ourselves.
Yes, that's very important. As someone who I realized this morning, well, I've realized before, but growing up, I didn't have some really good self-talk. And it's something that perpetuates over years. So, but just think about what you say to yourself when you are alone. What does that sound like? And I'll be honest, mine wasn't pretty. It was from the time I was a little girl, and the teachers put me in the back of the class because I was a good kid, but I didn't see that. I saw that as, you're ugly, you're unworthy, you're invisible. You're in the back of the class. You don't matter. I also came up in an era when children don't talk. You shut up, be quiet because I said so. It was how it was back then. It just was. And it was like for my parents, going back, it was probably even more so. And so every generation has their thing, but I started at a very early age with this idea that I was not good enough, not the same as, not wealthy, so it perpetuates into adulthood. And then you have other things like partners that may add to that dialogue, and employers, or just society in general. I'm not living up to here, so then I'm not. What's the point? So you build this that can be sometimes years, decades even, of talking to yourself in a not so great way. You don't realize this till you realize it. And you might realize it in steps, like Shannon was talking about, like a little bit at a time. But what are you saying to yourself? It was very common for me to look in the mirror and tell myself, you're ugly, your nose is crooked, you have freckles, why would anybody want you? That really, I'm just being honest here, that is what came up, like especially after my husband left me. So so I had it already going on, and I had that little moment where I was having my babies and a wife and a mother when I was like bliss. I was happy. I was in that motherhood, marriage state. But then when he left, it just, all that negative self-talk came right back. So, and I'm saying this because I know a lot of people have gone through similar or worse situation in their life where that negative self-talk really drove what happened to me. So somewhere along the line, though, I had enough of a possibility thinking in me and faith that I would have, like Shannon was talking about, you have your good days and your bad days. I had my days when I looked in the mirror and said, you suck, you're ugly. Why are you even living? I mean, I was really down on myself because I couldn't be the person I wanted to be. Now as a single mom, I couldn't keep my kids because of working all the time. I didn't get to see them like I wanted. It was just a horrible, horrible, horrible time. But then I'd have those days when I was like, yes, you have goals. You're going to do this. And I would self-talk. So I wasn't always negative self-talk. I did have some positive. So, and that's important because that's when you start becoming aware that that's the direction you need to go in. So that's, a little bit about me, but it's kind of universal to other people I've talked to. I even now that when I'm aware and I talk to people, I can hear their self-talk coming out in a conversation to me. So they're not only saying it to themselves, now they're telling me how they suck and how they can't do this and they can't do that, and
they're really trying to hit it home.
Yeah, they're
trying to prove
I did
how
it
much
too.
they suck.
I did it too. No judgment here. I would not only go ahead, Shannon, you want to say something?
So I was going to say two things. One is I was listening. I was the little girl in the back of the room because I didn't want to be seen. Like, let me hide. I don't want anybody to see me because I'm really not worthy. But then I went into, and that probably is the beginning of most of it. But I have a question for you. When you had those moments of, I'm rocking it, did you feel guilty? Because I did. Most of the time people would go, oh my gosh, you were so humble, because I would minimize every accomplishment I had because I didn't want somebody else to feel like I was bragging or proud of myself, or that how dare I think that I'm actually worthy of good things. That took years and I still struggle with that one. It's like, I want to do good things. I know I'm worthy of good things, but oh wait, if I let people know that I think that, then they're going to judge me. And maybe it's me judging me that I'm feeling like I'm better than I am, because I grew up in that environment of, oh, don't be so uppity. Don't,
be humble, be modest.
Be humble, be kind. Don't feel like
brag.
You're better than what you really are. Don't brag. All of that came right here.
Yeah, I trying to remember then, there was one thing, and this is just, you guys might get a kick out of this, but my first husband and I were involved in Amway. And Amway deals with a lot of possibility thinking and a lot of all things are possible, because everything is mindset. And although we have that information available to us all the time, back then, those were the books I read. Those were the tapes I listened to. So I had that part of me. Plus, even though growing up Christian, you're made to, often you feel guilty. We are unworthy. I'd hear that in church all the time. We are unworthy. We are sinner. So I had that piece, but I also had this strong faith in a higher power that I knew that was there. I know, right now I get chills. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, we have a higher power there. So yes, I did have those guilty feelings, but then I would have that, but then not. Then I had this feeling like, well, I don't care what other people think. I am this, and this is possible. And that, so I kind of went between, like, they were almost polar opposites. It was like, let me just go back into my little hole here and everybody leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. And I'm just, I'd shrink. And then I'd be like, "Ah," shrink.
That's awesome.
That's my experience. It might be because I'm a Leo. I don't know. But I'm very thankful for that mindset training that Amway
Mhm.
provided back in the day,
Yeah,
because
'cause
that was
really
that
forward.
yeah, that was really forward, and it stuck with me. It really, because I would remember, even in the Bible, all things are possible,
Mhm.
and I can do anything, and I would not have progressed how I did, I don't think, had I not had that awareness that that was there. We live in a time now where a simple Google of change your mindset, you've got all kinds of
Mhm.
information, self-love, but all that being said, it was the self-love. I didn't seem to be able to, well, first of all, we'd never heard of self-love back then. It was,
It wasn't a thing.
no, it wasn't a thing. And so even though I had this training, this mindset training, I still loathed myself pretty darn often. And it comes from, my husband left me. I'm not worthy. I'm not a good mom now. I'm not even a wife now. You lose your identity, I guess. And the self-love is just like Shannon was saying, it is a journey. And it is, I think, from my experience, it's not easy, because it's weird to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. And to really feel that, because then your self-talk says, it's just like, what are you talking about? Who are you kidding? It's like, what the heck? What does that mean? Just go back in your hole over there. I'm trying to be. So you
Which
have
is
to
just more
get
self-talk.
past,
I
yes,
know.
yes. So you've
Negative
got to,
self-talk.
yes. So you've got to get to this point where you can look yourself, and you got to get past the weirdness of it.
Mhm.
Where you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. You are worthy. I love you. You are worthy.
Yes.
I look in the mirror, and I am now in my 60s. I'm not going to look in the mirror and tear down how I look. I'm going to look in the mirror, and I'm going to look in my eyes and remind myself that I am a being of love and light,
Mhm.
that I am, that's my goal. I'm going to go out and radiate that, and I'm going to shine it in my mirror, and
Mhm.
I'm going to be that. And even if I have those days, because you will, everybody does, we're human, that's okay. Tomorrow I'll be, like Shannon said, 1% better.
Yeah.
There's the 10% happier thing. You're just always taking a step forward. So be aware of how you're talking to yourself when nobody's around.
Mhm.
Be aware of how you talk to yourself, to your friends too, but when no one's around, and then ask yourself, would I talk to my grandson that way? Would I talk to my daughter that way? Would I talk to my best friend that way? Would I say these things? But yet you'll say them to yourself. That's when you get to that awareness, then you're able
Mhm.
to catch yourself and be like, oh, wait a minute. I am a being of love and light.
Mhm.
I am capable of this and that. And you start thinking of things that you can do and that you do love about yourself. And your body hears that. Your cells, all of your cells within your body hear that. What we tell our body is how it's going to respond. So don't beat your body up. Love your body. I love my knees. I love my back. I'm able to do, like, gratitude. It goes on. And I could go on and on this
All
topic,
day.
because this has been a lifelong journey for me, but it is possible, and it's so important to your well-being. It involves how you interact with others, your self-confidence, how you project yourself in the world. It all matters.
Yeah. I was gonna say real quick, the littles, oh my goodness, they have it. So Stella, my granddaughter, when she's about two and a half. Stella, what are you doing? She goes, I Stella. Like I am Stella. That is
Yeah,
all you need to
I
know
love
in the
that.
world. I am Stella. And Logan, he used to be the same way. He goes, I'm Logie. I'm Logie. Logie monster is me. I am Logie. Like they have that such self-love and
They
self-worth. And when
do.
they're
That is,
little,
mhm,
like, yeah, that's where it's at.
And then
yeah,
society rips that from them and we rip it from ourselves. And
Yes.
yeah.
and it's so true with
Yeah.
little kids, you know, when little kids eat, like babies and toddlers, and what do? They like pat their tummy. They're like, you know, and then of course,
Mhm.
what do? We're like, ugh,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
can't wear a bikini now, you know.
Yes, I
Yeah.
And
can.
a very good example of the negative self-talk was when we were just in North Carolina and we were playing in a creek, and we'll be sharing pictures. There's some pictures we'll not be sharing, but like my mom is taking these photos of Shannon and I playing in the water, and she's like, you guys are so photogenic. And what am I thinking? I'm like, oh my gosh, like these pictures are so not flattering. I've seen them. And I'm like, and then that negative self-talk starts. And here's my mom who's like, you're so photogenic. You're so beautiful. And I'm just like, what drugs is she on? You know, like that's negative self-talk.
No, I
And
think your
so
exact words were, "You're my mom. You're biased."
Oh,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's still negative self-talk. So then I had to like, even in that moment, I had to be like, okay, just switch. Like I'm having fun. I'm having the time of my life. Who cares what the
you
photos look
guys
like? I
were,
don't.
if you could see what I was seeing, what I saw was 100% pure joy, almost like y'all were radiating. Like the rest
Yeah.
of the environment fell away, and the joy that was there, it almost makes me want to cry. So
Yeah.
that's what you guys look like to me. It was just 100% joy, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I took a bunch of pictures because I was like, I want to capture, and I think I did. I think when y'all saw the pictures that you see the
Yeah. We
joy.
looked like two little girls, like 4 and 5 years old, you know,
You
just
did.
holding each other's hands so we didn't slip on the rocks, and then just pure joy in that moment. Like
Yeah.
Layla and Michaela were. They were like pure joy in that moment.
Be there. Be in
Yeah.
that moment. Like, and if you have those moments, use those to bring into the present moment. To
Same, but
like,
I'm a little
yeah,
further away from the camera. So
Now
you
that I'm
can't see.
now that I'm crying, thanks, Mom.
but it's and why does that make us want to cry? Like, I'm not a crier, but I got like,
Crying's good for the soul.
It
yeah,
is.
but it's
You
the
should cry
joy of
every
the
day.
moment.
You should poop every day. You should cry every day.
Cry
It's an
every day. Yep.
Ayurvedic topic, but nonetheless, it's, you know, that's
But
self-love.
yes,
Crying is self-love too.
It is.
it is. And allowing
It is.
yourself, that's another lesson I had to learn. No, don't cry. Be strong, be tough.
Don't show your
Put-
emotions. Can't
Put
have
the wall
emotions.
up. No one can
You're
hurt
too
me.
sensitive.
No, cry. Let it go. It's okay.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
So Shannon's grandson coming in and, you know, giving him a hug. One of the lessons that we did in one of my classes was actually a form of self-love. And just if you're not presently feeling love from elsewhere, you can hug yourself. Like you can touch yourself, you can hug yourself, you can hold yourself, and just do it for a minute. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just sit here and hold yourself. Love yourself, rub your arms, and you can feel the warmth. So even if you're at home and you're by yourself and there's no one else there and you need love, you can hold yourself and love yourself. And you can do that, and you can feel the love radiating from yourself, and just hold it there.
In another
Give yourself a
way,
30-second hug.
yeah. This was really
Okay, I'm starting
powerful.
to feel uncomfortable now.
Another thing that you can do, you'll see me do it a lot. I do two things when I teach yoga. It's one thing, if you just bring your hands to your heart center and just put your hands right there.
That's what I do a lot.
You almost don't even have to think anything. You just get a feeling of love. And just breathe and be thankful for your breath. But the other thing I do is when I'm doing certain poses, and I do it a lot when I don't even say it out loud, but I will make a heart with my hands, like forward. When I do a wide-legged forward fold, I put my hands down, I'll make a heart and remind myself to love myself in that moment. It's just practice. Self-love. It's like anything you do, like eating healthy, exercising. It becomes a practice. Practice makes a habit.
And you're focusing on your strengths. And when you look at your weaknesses, if you're focusing more on your weaknesses, when you say, okay, I'm this, or I'm doing this, flip it around. So what's the opposite of that? And focus on your strength.
Mm-hmm.
Find something positive to say to counteract that negative thought. And I think that they've said studies are, for one negative thing, you need 5 positive things. So, if you have a negative thought, immediately counteract it with 5 good things. And on one of my coaching calls last night, I was talking to my client, and it was, I don't care what it is. If you can't find anything to be grateful and thankful for, wake up. I'm thankful for a bed. I'm not sleeping on the ground. I'm thankful for a car. It might not be the best car, but I can get from A to B. It's a car. I'm thankful for the car. Toilet paper. You don't realize how thankful you are for toilet paper until you don't have any. So I don't care how mundane it is, like just focusing on the positive will bring about more positive. So every day looking for those things. So when you say something negative, find 5 things positive to counteract that. And just immediately, and it resets your brain. There have been studies that show that it actually flips a switch in your brain. When you are focusing on the negative, you bring about more negative. So when you're doing negative self-talk, you're going to bring about more negative self-talk. When you start doing positive self-talk, you're going to bring about more positive self-talk. And then till you get to the point where you're just like, you can't tell me nothing. Like, I remember whenever I was going through my divorce, when we tried to work things out, and then we would split up, and then we tried to work things out. And it was like, at some point, I remember I got up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and went for a walk. And it was like, this man does not love me. And I was like, but I love myself. I don't care. And I just kept on my walk. And I just was going. And I was like, it's a good thing I love myself. And I just kept walking.
It does make life it does make life easier. Like everything just becomes a little clearer when you get to that point. But it does take practice to get to that point.
And you'll fall back into the negative self-talk again, just like when we were playing in the creek. And I was just like, oh, that's not very flattering.
Yeah.
But I still love myself.
Yeah.
I remember a while back, Michelle, I was like, oh my gosh, the house is so dirty and there's always dirty dishes and it's just the things and oh my goodness. And it was like you were saying, aren't you lucky to have dirty dishes and a house full of rambunctious children and that they're eating and that you have dishes to wash, that you have a sink to put all of these dishes in, that people are eating and enjoying life. And I'm like, my dishes are dirty. And you're like, so switching that is very helpful. Especially when you have a lot of kids or a busy job or, Fort Worth traffic or
Yeah.
all of those things. It's like you can say the same thing, but I am so thankful that I have this to be a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not.
You're thankful you have a job, otherwise you wouldn't have to be stuck in that traffic.
I know.
You flip the script.
Yes.
And you learn to do that. And then it just
Yep.
becomes automatic.
And then if you do say something negative, because again, like even though, I do all the positive self-talk and I, consider myself to be like, I know I practice self-love and I do all the self-love things and I have a morning routine that I try to do, to practice my own self-love, but you still will fall into it. And so I'll say something, I'm like, whoo, cancel, clear, delete. No.
Yes. Yes.
Cancel, clear, delete.
I
No,
love
back to
it.
base.
Clear, delete. I did not say that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Cancel, clear, delete. So yeah.
Cross it out, white it out, make it go away.
Yep. I did not say that. And sometimes it's about other people. So it's not always about me. Sometimes I'll say something negative about someone else and I'm like, ooh, so you don't have to be perfect in it. You don't, there's no perfection. It's always a work in progress. So, but you catch yourself, you learn how to catch those things and flip them really quickly versus, well, I said this, and this. And so now my whole day's shot. So I can't make a change. I can't make anything better because I did this. No, you immediately like, oh no, cancel, clear, delete. And these are, there's these flowers out here, there's, and you can go on and on about, just the most mundane things to flip that back to like a positive frame of mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a big thing at all. Little things are actually better.
So this may be a topic for another video, but also it has to do with how you vibrate. So when you're talking positive, when you're I'm not talking like Pollyanna, but when you're thinking about self-love and positive self-talk or, loving self-talk, your vibration raises a little bit. Because think about it, when you are thinking about love and happiness and joy and those things, you feel lighter. But when you think about something awful that happened to you or something, awful that happens, or you read the news, you get this heavy feeling. And that's when you're living in that heaviness, your vibration is lower. If you're wanting to help other people, it's going to be harder if you're coming from this place of lower vibration than if you're higher vibrating. So anyway, that's another whole topic, but some of you might know what I'm talking about and some of you might we need to talk more about that later. But so raise your vibration, love yourself.
Yeah. I have a whole worksheet on raising your vibration also.
There you go. Perfect.
I have a whole worksheet on things you can do to raise your vibration.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of those things we've talked about here, like Shannon said, take a walk, raise your vibration.
Dance, sing,
dance,
put your feet in the grass,
meditate, do yoga.
Yeah. Talk to a friend.
Yeah.
Talk to a child.
Play in a creek.
All kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of things. So if you want that, just send me a message and I'll send it to you. If you want the little PDF that raising your vibration, I think it's called Raise Your Vibe or something like that. It's also on the website. And I know some people have asked for it and I've sent it. So do we have anything else to say on that matter? I know we have a few little reminders.
I was just going to say, as we close, just what is one thing that you can do better? What is one thing that you could be more aware of and put it into practice? Just one little thing. That's it.
One thing. Yeah.
One step.
Brandy just said her son was laughing at her for walking in the grass. So let me throw this little story in real quick. I recently had to go to Nashville for a class, and I had to take a certification exam for work. And so on our breaks, I would go out and I would kick my shoes off and I would stand there in the courtyard barefoot. And so here's all of these people. We're at a college. So there's people walking by me. There's people that were in my class that were coming out and they're like, and I didn't care. I'm standing right there with my bare feet in the grass. They can come up and they can ask me about it if they want to, and I'll tell them why. But I was just as happy. So let them laugh. It's okay. You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anyone else. I don't go stand in the grass. I mean, I do take pictures and share them, but I don't stand in the grass to share them. I do it for myself. When I'm working during the day, I'll take a break. I go outside and stand in the grass. That is self-love. Like, I'm doing that for myself to give myself a break. And who cares what other people think? Who cares what other people think about you? I had there were like young kids walking by, people from my class were coming out. At the end of it, I think there were 3 other people that were coming out and taking their shoes off and standing with me in the grass.
There you go.
They didn't talk to me. They just went over and stood in the grass and a few feet from me and just stood there with their shoes off. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So just a little, don't worry about what other people think. And,
No.
people laugh at me all the time. I laugh at myself all the time. It's fine.
And laughter will raise your vibration.
Yes.
There's actually
Yes,
laughing yoga.
Yes. We've done laughing yoga before, and it was awesome.
We have. Yeah, we need to have a group to do it though. It's hard to do it by myself.
It is, yeah. We'll have to do like a live Zoom.
Yeah, laughter is contagious. Smiling is contagious. And if you want to know where to start with self-love, just look in the mirror and smile at yourself. Just smile. It's kind of hard to be unhappy when you're smiling. Self-love, I just want to make sure, I used to think that going shopping was self-love. Shopping therapy, we called it, my friend and I. And it was because we had a rough week. We deserve this. We're going to take care of ourselves and go shopping. Okay.
That might have been where mine started.
Yes, I'm going to reward myself and we're going to go out to eat and I'm just going to go ahead and eat whatever I want. And which is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything, but it was like my version at the time of self-love. But that was really what it was. It reminds me of when you go to the doctor and you have a thing going on and the doctor said, well, here, I could write you a prescription for this. And he gives you a prescription and you go home and you take the prescription and you feel better like for 4 hours or 24 hours or however. And then you're like, dang it. And you got to go shopping again. Or you got to go out to eat again. And so the root cause, the root solution is never addressed. You're just going out and doing things to make you feel better. So I just wanted to say that because I realized I equated that to self-love because we deserved it. We worked hard. It's been a rough week. I'm going to go out and we're going to have a couple beers. I worked hard. It's been a rough week. Let's go shopping Saturday. I never thought it was that. How was I really feeling about myself? So
and that's exactly how mine started. It was like, oh, I've had a rough day. I deserve to spend $200 on that purse. And then I felt amazing for a few minutes, and then until the next bill came in and I had spent the money on the purse and I didn't have money to pay my rent.
And then you got a closet full of $200 purses that you don't even use.
And then I wake up the next morning with the most god-awful hangover. That was a Band-Aid on the underlying problem.
Right.
But then I started craving the Band-Aid, which was not helping the gaping wound.
It's just like the pill the doctor gives you. Some of them become addictive or there are side effects. There's issues that come with that may create other problems. Now you can't pay your rent. side effect.
Yeah.
So,
And then that starts a spiral of negative self-talk and negative
Yeah.
feeling about yourself. And yeah,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I like Ayurveda, because Ayurveda gets to the root of the problem. And so, you know, you heal the actual root, and so that the rest of it kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
And that it itself is a process.
So love yourself. Look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Just love yourself.
Love yourself.
Smile. Give yourself a hug. I do that sometime. I haven't done it in a while with yoga, but just
Yeah.
like when you're warming
yourself.
up, just give yourself a hug.
So, and on this journey, we're going to talk about real quick. We are starting the journaling challenge again. We're going to be doing 60 days of journaling. It's going to start on my birthday on June 24th. Yay.
I
So
love
we're going
that.
to start on that day. Yes. And we're going to actually have the journal available to you as a whole package that you can get prior to. I'm finishing up working on that, putting it together right now. It'll be a little bit different than the journal sheets from before. So we'll have that, and then we'll start that. I'll probably post something today, maybe, or tomorrow. I don't know 100% yet about that for details and things like that. Was there anything else about that I needed to say?
No, but there was something that I just remembered. So I've had people say to me, I don't feel comfortable writing things in a journal where someone might see them. I think if you wanted to, you could probably journal and send it to a message to me or Michelle, and we can look at it. We could file it somewhere for you if you want to come back to it, or we can delete it for you and help you work through that.
Mhm.
That's my thought. I'm sorry, that just remembered, and I just threw you out there, Michelle. So I hope you're okay with this. But I did have somebody tell me that they have somebody that goes through everything that they have, and they want to journal and they want to do the things, but they don't know how to. Yeah.
And if someone goes through your phone, and you can also do some journaling and then burn it. If you're able to journal and then immediately burn, I mean, that's more of like a purge writing. You can't go back and look at it, but you're still journaling. You're still getting it out. So that's a possibility also. If you're in that situation and you can't do it, and you have someone that will look even through your messages, because sometimes that's a safety issue also, that if you can't even feel safe doing it in a message, sometimes there's, do it sometime when you're alone, do it in the car, if you're on lunch break or before work or after work, keep it at work. If you don't work and you're at home, do it first thing in the morning or the last thing before you go to bed, whenever you have time by yourself, and then immediately get rid of it. You don't have to keep it. So there's possibilities. And if if there are some specific circumstances that you want to try and work around, I'm more than happy to help walk through that and figure things out, because it is important. So you just message me or Shannon, and we'll help with that process. Or my mom, or two. Any of us will help try to figure out a way to get you to participate and not put you in any danger as well. All right. And then if you guys have any questions or anything you want us to address on our calls, or even if you don't want us to address it on the call and you just you have a question, just message us and just let us know. I don't want this shared on the call, and we won't share it. We'll just answer it and help you with whatever that is. Or if you have a topic you want us to do a tea talk on, a whole topic, something, we can do that too. We're coming into the summertime now. So summer solstice is coming up here. So we'll be going into a new season. So I know I'll be doing a talk on going into the summer season, going into Pitta season, and how to manage, if you are a Pitta dosha. And if you don't know what dosha you are, we'll talk about that too. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and we will see you next Saturday morning at 9:30-ish. Our next tea talk.
8:30-ish.
Yes.
All right. Y'all have an amazing
Bye.
day.